This episode is sponsored by Squarespace. I used Squarespace to build both Basics with Babish and BingingWithBabish.com. On the sites, you'll find recipes, equipment lists, other news, and updates. All beautifully designed, if I do say so myself. Get 10% off your first Squarespace order by visiting squarespace.com/babish.
Hello there, welcome back to another episode of Arcade with Alvin. Today I'll be attempting to make the strawberry pie from Celeste, one of the best indie games ever made. Throughout the game you collect strawberries, and if by the end of the game you have collected over 150, you get a wonderful epilogue scene showcasing a magnificent version of a strawberry pie, with strawberry ice cream, whipped cream on the crust, and wings. That sounds like a lot of fun, so let's get started. We're gonna go ahead and make some strawberry ice cream from scratch. I have here 12 ounces of strawberries, and once the tops have been removed, these get cut up into little chunks and combined with about 3 ounces of granulated sugar, and these are allowed to sit and macerate 1 hour at room temperature, just so that the juices can come out. Once everything's looking nice and juicy, we're going to remove those macerated strawberries and immersion blend them until they become a puree. But don't worry, all that juicy, delicious strawberry sugar liquid is going to be used later. The strawberry puree gets combined with 2.5 cups of heavy cream, 1.5 cups of whole milk, 6 ounces of sugar, a teaspoon of vanilla, and half a teaspoon of kosher salt. And as per Andrew's suggestion, a tablespoon of vodka, just to make sure that the ice crystals don't actually end up forming too strong. Thanks, dude. This gets blended together, mixed until smooth, and set in the fridge to cool. While that chills in the fridge, we're gonna go ahead and get started on the strawberry pie filling. The ice cream batch had around 30 strawberries in it, so this batch will have 120. These also get their tops removed and chopped into same rough chunks. I'm not sure if somebody has invented the most efficient way to cut and chop strawberries like other vegetables, but I have found the best way for me is to just go at it with a knife and pray for the best. Once these are separated, I'm reserving 1/3 of these for later. In a small bowl, I'm combining 25 grams of sugar and 1/3 of a cup of cornstarch. In goes a half cup of water and whisked until slurry-ish. Onto the stove. In a medium saucepan over medium heat, we're gonna cook 2/3 of those strawberries we cut up earlier. In goes 150 grams of sugar, a half a teaspoon of kosher salt, the juice of half of a lemon, and proceed to mash and cook this until it starts to bubble. Once it's simmering, in goes the cornstarch slurry, and this mixture will get cooked for another 2 to 3 minutes until thickened. At the final minute of cooking, throw in those 1/3 reserved strawberries from earlier just to add some texture to the pie filling. This gets transferred into a metal bowl for quicker cooling and sent to the fridge to keep our ice cream mixture company. While those will inevitably take a long time to chill, we're gonna get started on our pie dough. I'm starting by cutting up 4 sticks of cold butter into thin little slices. Super satisfying. Now into the stand mixer goes 600 grams of all-purpose flour, a tablespoon of kosher salt, and all of this wonderful butter mixed together until the butter chunks are no larger than the size of a blueberry. With the mixer running on low, slowly add around 175 to 225 grams of ice cold water. I added a little bit too much water this time, but no worries. I'm going to shape this on the board and add a little bit of extra flour as I'm kneading and pressing it just to help it absorb a bit. The dough gets divided into 2 portions, one that is 50% larger than the other, shaped into discs and wrapped with plastic wrap and sent again to chill in the fridge. The fridge is really putting its work in today. What I really like about stuff that involves a lot of time in the fridge is that it leaves more time for video games. Shout out to science. This beautiful silky ice cream mixture that has now gotten a little bit thicker and smoother goes into a nice ice cream machine and run for about 45 minutes just until it looks like soft serve. Nice. After the dough has chilled for at least 1 hour, this gets removed from the fridge and flattened out ready to roll. But first, we must address the issue of the wings found in this strawberry pie. White chocolate would have been an obvious choice, but white candy melts do have that more cartoon-like white color that we were looking for. These are just some nice silicone molds we got off of Amazon, so they melt these in the microwave according to package instructions. Then this again goes into the fridge. Shout out fridge. Back to the dough. Each disc gets rolled out to roughly 1/4 to 1/6 of an inch in thickness. I can't tell, so it's gonna have to be 1/4, I'm guessing. But the larger one will serve as the base of the pie. We're gonna roll this out thin, patch up any scraps, re-roll it, and we're gonna line this in a 10-inch springform pan. Once the dough has been lined and evenly pressed, I like to use a little mug with straight edges to get that smooth look. A fun way to get rid of those dough scraps is to just simply use a rolling pin along the top of it that'll neatly just press off any of that excess dough. dough. But save those scraps, don't throw them away. We're gonna use those later. Now that our strawberry filling has cooled and set thickly, this gets satisfyingly set and spread inside the bottom of this pie pan. Now we move on to the lattice. Overlapping one way, then doing the other, then kind of lifting and folding over under. A lot of YouTube videos out there to show this if you really want to learn how to do it. I've done it a lot, so it comes second nature to me. After crimping the lattice edges to the sides of the pie, this gets a quick egg wash on top to help with browning, and goes into a 425-degree oven for 15 to 20 minutes. Once it starts to turn golden, the oven temperature reduces to about 350 degrees and cooks for roughly an hour. This one baked for about an hour and a half. Once that cools a little bit at room temperature, we're going to set that back in the fridge so that it can chill and let the filling really set so we get nice slices. Thank you, fridge. This is what I like to do with any leftover pie scraps after making pie. Take all of them, no matter if they're warm, soft, cold, mush them together into a giant ball, and once it's smooth, roll it out with a little bit of extra flour, because chances are a little bit of the butter has leaked out. Once it's into a nice round shape, could be square, could be rectangular, try to get it even. I like to brush it with the remainder of the egg wash used for probably the thing that you used on the pie. So this just goes on. Make a little cinnamon sugar mixture, 1 part cinnamon to 4 parts sugar, and sprinkle this evenly over the top. Be generous because this is going to be delicious. Don't forget a little bit of salt at the end, because all sweet things do benefit from a little bit of salt. Now from one end to the other, slightly roll the pastry until you get essentially a pie dough log. I like to take this a step further, wrap it in saran wrap, and again, throw it into the fridge. We're not going to talk about this. Once the tube has firmed up, we're going to take this out, trim the edges. I'm going to slice roughly 1/2 inch thick cookies. These are going to be dipped in the remainder of the cinnamon sugar on each side, spread onto a baking tray, and baked for about 15 minutes until they have puffed, essentially making mini cinnamon roll cookies. And just to add a little bit of visual flair, we're going to combine probably 3 tablespoons of powdered sugar to a teaspoon of water, or just until thickened, drizzled on top. And there you have it, little cinnamon roll cookies made from the scraps of your pie, which you can definitely feed to a lot of people if you have around, or yourself. I won't judge. We're in the home stretch, so we're gonna make the garnishes now. 1.5 cups of heavy cream, whipped or immersion blended until soft peaks, with a tablespoon of powdered sugar. This gets transferred into a pastry bag using the mug technique, and again set in the fridge. For the strawberry garnishes on top, I decided to give them a little shiny jacket through the means of brushing a little bit of simple syrup just until glossy. I want to give a special shout out to Riz from chocolatesanchai.com, who has made a beautiful and model-like looking pie from Celeste, a recipe and execution that we heavily admire and will take some inspiration from. Thank you, Riz. And we begin piping a reverse shell-like pattern with the whipped cream all along the edge of the pie. I usually like having cake stands for this that can rotate, because that makes the job so much easier when you don't have to walk around the entire table 4 times. We're going to take our ice cream that has been frozen overnight and scoop some nice scoops onto the middle of our pie. This gets adorned with those glossy, shiny strawberries in a loose pattern, and for the final touch, our wings have now set, so they are now ready to be released and fly right onto the middle of our pie. And there you have it, our take on the strawberry pie from Celeste, with 150 strawberries collected by the epilogue. I'm a fan of beautiful things everywhere and anywhere in life, and I have to say this definitely makes that list. Of course, the visual inspiration from Riz's recipe was huge, so again, thank you for that. But does it taste as good as it looks, or even similarly? After taking a nice slice or so, before the ice cream melts completely, we dig in, and I am both surprised and also not surprised that this tastes pretty darn amazing. Homemade pie crust really is something that is always underrated, but when you combine that with an intensely fruity strawberry filling, homemade strawberry ice cream, and a touch of whipped cream, this is definitely a pie that I feel like would be celebrating over. Some might call it a symphony of flavors. People from the BCU also seem to agree as they dig in as well. I'm wondering though, what happens if we made this with 149 strawberries?
Thanks again to Squarespace for sponsoring today's episode. They've been a great partner in supporting the Babish culinary universe and bringing my websites to life. From websites to online stores to domains and analytics, Squarespace is the all-in-one platform for you to build your online presence. They also have SEO tools so that your site is getting found and searched by more people more often. If you want to try it for yourself, you can start your free trial today by visiting squarespace.com/babish to get 10% off your first purchase.